Hello and welcome to Math Matters. I'm Miss Ott and today we are going to learn about perimeter. Knowing how to calculate perimeter is an important skill that has many real-world connections. For this lesson, you will need a pencil and some paper. Go ahead and get those supplies now. To get started, let's get our brains warmed up by thinking about length or height. If Mr. Stottle is 6 feet 4 inches tall, how tall do you think Mr. Stottle's son is? I notice that Mr. Stottle's son is just a little bit more than half of Mr. Stottle's height. If Mr. Stottle is 6 feet 4 inches, half of that would be 3 feet 2 inches. And if his son is just a little bit taller than that, my guess is that his son is about 3 feet 5 inches. What is your guess? Let's see how tall his son actually is. Our guess was close. Mr. Stottle's son is 3 feet 7 inches tall. We just did an estimation exercise involving length, and you might be wondering, what does length have to do with perimeter? Perimeter is the distance around the outside of a shape. Distance is measured in length. Look at the quadrilateral shape on the screen. Each side has a length or a distance measured in centimeters. If we wanted to know the perimeter of the quadrilateral, we would add all of the lengths together to determine the distance around the outside of the shape. Let's explore some other scenarios where we would have to determine perimeter. So why might we need to determine the perimeter of an object or a shape? Take a look at this garden. What do you notice about the garden? Did you notice the wood that goes around the outside of the garden? To figure out how much wood to buy, the owner needed to determine the perimeter of the garden first. A gardener wants to build a box around this garden. To do this, we need to determine the perimeter. What do you notice about the dimensions or measurements of this rectangular garden? We can see that one side is 18 feet and the other side is 6 feet. What does this tell us about the other sides of the rectangle? You have learned previously that opposite sides of a rectangle are equal, so the long side must be 18 feet and the shorter side must be 6 feet. Now that we know the dimensions of the entire garden, how might we calculate the perimeter of the garden? Remember, perimeter means the distance around the outside of an object. We could calculate the perimeter of the garden by adding 18 feet plus 6 feet plus 18 feet plus 6 feet. Did you notice that there are 2 6 feet and 2 18 feet in this number sentence? We could also calculate the perimeter of this garden by multiplying 18 times 2 and adding 6 times 2. Both number sentences would give us the perimeter. Now it's your turn. On your paper and pencil, calculate the perimeter of the garden any way that makes sense to you. One way that we can calculate the perimeter is by looking for friendly numbers. 6 is made up of 2 and 4. We can use the 2 from the 6 to add to the 18 to make 20. The associative property of addition allows us to do this. The associative property states that numbers can be grouped together in any manner. As we continue calculating, we now have 20 plus 4 plus 20 plus 4. We can add the 20 plus 20 to get 40 and the 4 plus 4 to get 8. This tells us that the perimeter is 48 feet. Now take a moment to use your paper and your pencil to calculate the perimeter of this soccer field. Remember, you can add the numbers with any strategy that makes sense to you. Here are two different examples of equations we could write to help us calculate the perimeter of this soccer field. 75 yards plus 120 yards plus 75 yards plus 120 yards, or 75 times 2 plus 120 times 2. What was your final answer? The perimeter of this soccer field is 390 yards. Be sure to include the label of your measurement, which in this case is yards. This is the shape you saw in the beginning of the slideshow. Sometimes we have to find the perimeter of shapes that are not regular, like the one on the screen. Take a moment to find the perimeter of this shape. Remember, perimeter means the total distance around the shape. Don't forget to include your label. To find the perimeter of this shape, we would add 4 plus 6 plus 7 plus 2 centimeters to get the perimeter. This means the perimeter is 19 centimeters. Now it's your turn. Take some time to find the perimeter of the shapes on the screen. The sides for each shape are the same length. Today, we learned about perimeter. Look at the various shapes in your house. Would you be able to measure and find the perimeter of some of the shapes in your house? This has been Math Matters. I'm Miss Sott. I hope you have a great day and keep on counting.